Hi, I'm Claire Dyer, and today I'm going to be talking to Issy Vine, who was a former Met Police call handler who subsequently is now exposing corruption within the police force. So we will be talking to her today. Hello and welcome to Dyer Consequences, and I'm Claire Dyer here on Unprecedented TV, the platform for free speech, uncensored and unfiltered. You may remember a previous interview we had with a Metropolitan Police call handler turned whistleblower who came forward to share what she personally witnessed from inside the system. In that conversation, she spoke candidly about the culture she has encountered within the police, why she ultimately felt she had no choice but to leave, and how speaking out has impacted her life and the ongoing case she continues to pursue. That interview struck a nerve. It raised serious questions about accountability, transparency, and the cost of telling the truth. So today we're revisiting that story. Since our last conversation, there have been further developments, pressures have intensified, and the personal toll has continued. This episode is about what it really means to challenge an institution and what support, if any, exists for those who do. As always, this platform exists to have these conversations, others won't. And we don't script the uncomfortable, we do not dilute the difficult, and we don't silence live experience. So today, I'd like to welcome back to the show Issy Vine, previously Met call handler, now turned whistleblower. Issy, welcome back. So good to see you.
Hello. Oh, thank you so much for having me back. It's lovely to see you as always.
Well, I know you've been going through a bit of a hard time lately. I mean, you're fighting, you're fighting a very difficult cause.
A beast.
Going up and the institution that is the Met Police. I mean, it's not just limited to the Metropolitan Police. It is actually all police, but obviously you come under London, so are under the Met Police, and that's who you previously worked for.
Yeah.
Just quickly say how it all started for you, because we do have a video that we will put up that gives a quick, brief lowdown for everybody who may not have seen the previous interview.
Okay. Yeah, so I was a communications officer, which is call handler and a dispatcher, between 2020 to 2025. Um, Throughout my time there, I there was an incident with a colleague. He called a rape victim a slut, was racist, mocked Sarah Everard, and followed me after work. And I had to report it. And there were just so many failings. He eventually was dismissed for gross misconduct and then later rehired internally, because they just didn't think it was that bad, even though it was still found proven. And yeah, then I kind of escalated my concerns and started getting up higher up in the chain and talking to higher directors and senior officers, and it was just getting worse and worse. There was just more sexism, more misogyny, more just you could tell the rot was coming
Yeah.
from up top. And yeah, I had to leave to speak out, to warn the public, because the Met weren't going to do anything about it. And here I am, still
Yeah.
shouting about it years later.
With the studio can put up the video. It's one of your videos from TikTok to highlight exactly what has kind of had gone on and how it started for you. If the studio has that.
I'm 30 years old and I worked for the Met Police, and I left because it's rotten to the core. I worked between 2020 to the end of 24 as a communications officer. I sat next to a colleague in 2023 who called a rape victim a slut, wished immigrants would fuck off back home, mimicked Sarah Everard's death into my ear whilst I was on a live 999 call, and followed my journey half home. I reported this, he was dismissed for gross misconduct, and he was sacked. 4 months later, I was notified that he'd appealed, he'd won, and he'd been rehired. He'd also been given back all the pay that he'd missed between being dismissed and returned, and his annual leave too. I couldn't understand this, so I met with the decision maker who rehired him, and he said he still believes me, it was still proven. He just thought it was too harsh to dismiss someone for this, and that violence against women and girls and the Casey report beared too much influence on the original panel, which was 2 women and a male. I escalated this, and I was ping-ponged for months between a grievance and the Professional Standards Department, to which the Professional Standards finally took it on and said it was very serious. They took it to a Deputy Assistant Commissioner, and I waited 5 months, chased it myself, to find out that my complaint had not been dealt with, hadn't been passed to the Deputy Assistant Commissioner, and he didn't know who I was. I had to leave due to a decline in mental health. I became suicidal. I was going to work after nearly crashing my car. I was begging to not be put on high-risk incidents because I was mentally unwell and I was suicidal, and it would be a risk to public safety and officer safety, but due to business needs, the Met trumped that and put me on it twice.
So I wanted for people to see that, because obviously some people might not have seen your first interview. So I think that kind of gives a brief kind of description as to what happened. But I wanted you to come back on, obviously, to say how, because this has gone on since 2023, hasn't it?
Yeah.
How it's affected you, and why you now feel that this is kind of your life's purpose now, isn't it, to expose corruption within the police? So I wanted you to just be able to air that and explain your journey to people.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't been a smooth ride. It's definitely, oh, it's just been a nightmare, to be honest. But I mean, it's all worth it because, it's what I'm passionate about it because I feel it's right. Yeah, I mean, as I can't even remember, it was last year that I was last on this show, wasn't it? It
I think
was
it was probably about 3-4 months ago, but it seems a lot's happened since then.
yeah.
I even find myself that the worse it gets, the more it actually ends up spurring you on, and it just becomes
Yes.
you go deeper and deeper into it, and it becomes a bigger spider's web, doesn't it?
This is it. Like, yeah, I mean, asking for an update. I mean, there is so much, but I mean, basically the crux of it is I'm still going through a court case with the Met to hold them accountable for how they treated me. That's kind of separate. But I'm still publicly campaigning, raising awareness about what happened, still creating content about it. Created Isabel's campaign to hopefully just raise awareness.
Tell me about that, because that's Isabel's Law, wasn't it? That was started in 2003.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be Isabel's Law, but I mean, I just started it off like that. But, Isabel's campaign, realistically, I personally believe that the only way to deter and get rid of bad apples or bad police officers or bad police staff is to have a mechanism or a model or a body that would publish every single bit of wrongdoing. Right now, in terms of UK legislation, police forces are only legally obliged to publish gross misconduct outcomes, and that's for a minimum of 28 days. Otherwise, they can just take them off, or they don't have to put up misconduct outcomes, anything like that. They don't have to put police staff misconduct outcomes, nothing. So realistically, all you have is a select few of gross misconduct outcomes for police officers in the UK that are up. And I feel like that is such a loophole because you have police staff who answer your phone, you have police staff who are forensics, you have police officers that come back at police staff and work in the control rooms, serious roles that work with the public, who are not counted as police officers and therefore don't have their misconduct outcomes published. And I think the only way to make people join the police and want to do right, even though they should just do right anyway, but to deter them from wrongdoing and misconduct is to have a body, a national police misconduct body, that would publish all misconduct outcomes, whether it's misconduct, gross misconduct, and have, like, just as long as that officer or that staff member is in service, you can, like, the public will have a statutory right to be able to request that information. Because if you think about it, it's actually so violating to think that when you call 999 and you know, you've been attacked or whatnot, or whatever, you've been a victim of crime or witnessed a crime, you're calling 999, and we're just expected to trust and believe and hope that the person being sent out to us or answering that phone is a decent person or hasn't done anything bad and is, you know, a law-abiding citizen. But that's not always the case, and we actually don't know anything about the people who are being sent to us or anyone who is in the police. We don't know anything about them. So by having a national police misconduct body with a register of all misconduct,
Yeah.
if you're with an officer or a staff member and you just want to be safe, or you're getting funny vibes or whatnot, you can have a statutory right to request the misconduct history of this officer or police staff. And I think what better way to show transparency, um,
Yeah.
deter misconduct, because the only thing that stops people, and it's so ingrained in policing, the only thing that stops bad behavior and wrongdoing is a threat to reputation or embarrassment. I mean, that's what the police feed off. It's always, you know, maintaining public trust and confidence. So
It's, I've
yeah,
heard the LFB refer to themselves as a brand.
what
So
about
it's
the police? Yeah.
well, the London
Oh,
Fire Brigade
but
is a brand. It says
wow.
here, you know, so hundreds of officers should be sacked. Is that the
Yeah.
word? Was that the words of Sir Mark Rowley?
Yeah. He's had multiple
There's a
interviews
lot of
about
things that he
how.
does carry out, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I have my own thoughts about Mark Rowley. I think he should be like the first one to go, to be honest. Yeah, hundreds of officers should be sacked, and
Well,
they aren't.
he's made a lot of promises, hasn't he?
He's made a
But
yeah,
you know, going back to what you were saying, obviously about transparency. I mean, you pointed out something to me last time in your interview that actually I hadn't considered about Met call handlers, because obviously within your case, it was a Met call handler that, as you said, mocked the death of Sarah Everard, which was obviously by Wayne Couzens, a police officer. You know, said rape victims are slut, and yet he, as you pointed out, they are the first point of call to the public when you phone up and dial 999, and it's that they have the power and the responsibility to
yeah,
decide whether they think a police unit should be sent out or the
yeah.
seriousness of it. So, as you quite rightly pointed out and made even me aware, the power that call handlers actually had, and I'd never even considered that before.
Yeah, they have significant power. I mean, there are not every call is Q&A. So Q&A is a thing where they'd be filtered through and they check that the job has been done by the call handler. Not every call is Q&A'd. And, you know, I even remember once when I worked there picking up a call and someone was saying, "Oh, when's police coming? I've been waiting for weeks. I reported a sexual assault." And I'd actually had to try and find their phone number in the system to look at previous calls that they'd sent in. And the call handler that first took it marked it as a civil dispute and not a sexual offence. Her partner is sexually assaulting her, and
Oh.
nothing happened to it. So I had to be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, we'll get someone straight out to you." But people just don't understand the
So,
significant power that a call handler does have and a dispatcher.
so there's not even this, I can't even say the word now, disciplinary hearings or anything for things like that. Would you say there's not even proper training then?
Training's just another problem. It's so inconsistent. Policing is inconsistent. I mean, you have a core framework, but realistically, even your tutor, when you're being trained, it's what they interpret it as. I mean, that's why when I used to be a call handler, I used to say to the public, you know, if you're not happy with this response, keep calling. And at one point, you will get the right response because everything is inconsistent. Everything is down to subjective opinion of that officer or that police staff. And yeah, I mean, in training, they give you a very base level amount on each of the crimes, but realistically, it doesn't do anything once you get into the actual job. Everything is how you interpret it. And that's why there's a lot of conflict and tension between policing departments because, you know, it's so hard to explain and it always baffles me. But when you think of frontline policing, you have and frontline, I mean in terms of incidents, you have a call handler, a dispatcher, officers. So you'll have a call come in, a call handler will take it. Hopefully they'll filter it through and send it down to dispatch. Dispatch will then prioritize it with what else is going on in the borough and then
Mm.
assign it to a unit to get a unit out. First contact, dispatch, and police officers, response units, they there's so much tension between all of those departments because they all have different ways of working, and none
And
of
they
those
don't
departments
communicate.
learn about. Sorry, say
And
that again.
they don't communicate as well.
They don't, yeah, exactly. And they don't learn about each other's departments or how they're supposed to work. So a lot of the time you have this clash, like you have dispatchers being rude about call handlers and them saying, well, this is not what you should be doing and this is blah, blah, blah. And then you have officers clashing with dispatchers, and it's just ridiculous. But
And what
yeah,
I've also found is that the police get called out for things that possibly they probably shouldn't get called out for. And
yeah,
the studio put this up because they're saying, you know, unless you're on a gay pride march, then, you know, this is absolutely fine. But, you know, because
it's,
it's politicized.
yeah,
Which
it's,
is woke, but you know, but I get the police called to me all the time for you, Les. Now, as
yeah,
everyone knows, the Met call police, not Met call police, so you're the call handler. The Met
yeah,
police, they are essentially, in my opinion, owned and controlled by the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and obviously
yeah.
you guys is Sadiq Khan.
Mm,
So, so yeah, they will get called out to us all of the time, and yet you've got
not
things like,
surprised.
you know, assaults happening or within the police, and they're just it's
Yeah.
just been covered up and hidden.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is another thing that really infuriates me with this image is that you have, I'm assuming this is from the Met Police website or from a Met um site or something, but you know, I'm very pro LGBTQ plus, and the police, you know, being on board with that and being up to date and more representative of society. But what irritates me about pictures like this is that when you're actually in policing, you have members of this community who are not supported by the police force, but then picked and put on posters and to look like they represent and they're supportive of marginalized communities, but they're actually not. And I'm assuming this is from the Met Police website. They spend a lot of money on campaigns and posters and promo, but actually, you know, for example, there's homophobia is rife within the police. So I find this very, you know, it's like violence against women and girls posters and promo from the police. It infuriates me because it's all misspent money and all empty promises and just posters to protect the reputation and make the reputation shiny.
And the
But
brand, and
yeah.
they're essentially, you know, a public body here to serve and protect the public, and it doesn't seem to be that way at all. And I
No.
was going to say, because obviously the death of Sarah Everard was obviously absolutely devastating. Again, look, you know, I mean, I almost find it a bit mockery, really.
I'm personally I'm really for this, but I'm only really for this if they're actually really going to be for their LGBTQ LGBTQ plus staff and police officers, which they're not. They just use them to make it look like, oh yeah, we're really
Mm,
and you know, people might say it's woke or whatever. That's some people's type of opinions. I'm very, you know, I think policing should represent all the communities in London, but actually support your staff and officers who are from that community as well. Don't just, I mean, yeah, you can tell this is staged. It's staged.
yeah,
Like it's ridiculous. Like, and also it's even more ridiculous as well, as much as this is needed to show that police are the community and come from the community, so they should represent the community. It just irritates me because I just remember so many shifts of, you know,
yeah,
not being able to get people out to domestics and
yeah.
you know, being short staffed on loads of stuff and not and people waiting hours after being sexually assaulted, and it's because you have the police force prioritizing campaigns and photo shoots. You
Yeah.
know, they want to put their officers there.
That's what I was going to. What I was going to say was, obviously, you know, the death of Sarah Everard. It really put the police and the Met Police under scrutiny. Scrutiny, and there was the Baroness Casey review. Have you
Yeah.
heard of that? That was actually published on the 21st of March 23. And what they found was that there was obviously massive cultural issues within the Met, poor handling of misconduct complaints, which obviously you have found out personally for yourself,
Mhm.
weak vetting and inconsistent standards, because that was the case with David Carrick and Wayne Couzens that there was previous allegations before that they'd even joined the police. So the vetting was not very good, and serious institutional failures to act on complaints, poor internal data sharing. You said that departments clearly don't communicate or work well together, and re-vetting of officers after allegations. So this was all done in March 23. After the death of Sarah Everard, which shocked the entire nation to its core. Promises were made. This report was published. Doing what you do you think anything has changed? Because we're now in 2026.
I know, yeah. No, not absolutely nothing's changed. And another thing about this that really irritates me is that, how many more inquiries and reviews do we need? We've had them for decades, literally decades. You've had the Macpherson report, Casey review, the Angelini inquiry. Like, how many more inquiries and reports do we need, which costs money to tell us what we already know, to then at the end just give recommendations that aren't legally binding? Even I think one of the recommendations from the Casey report is that all police forces have I don't know the actual wording, but a clear sexual offences policy. And then, a couple of months ago, it comes out in the news that only a quarter do. It's ridiculous. Like, if they're not going to be forced to do these recommendations at the end of these reports, then what is the effing point? Like, that's another reputation and reputation thing from the government. Oh crap, everyone hates the police at the moment because of X incident. Let's look like we're going to do something about it, so let's draw up an inquiry and pretend that we're going to do something, give them a bunch of recommendations that don't mean anything, and let's not hold them to account when they don't meet them either. It's ridiculous. It's a circus.
Yeah, we are going to go to a quick break, but I will ask you that question. So do you think all of these reports, all of these promises are only simply to pacify us, and they have no intention of changing? You can answer that. I'll let you think about it after the advert, because we're just going to show a clip from Tim Scott's Uncancelled, another show here on Uncancelled. And that was Tim Scott Uncancelled, another one of our shows here on Unprecedented. And I asked you a question before the break. I think I know the answer.
They don't do anything. They don't do anything, and they are a waste of money. And like you say, it's just to pacify, and it's just to until the next scandal, it just shuts everyone up. I think it's a slap in the face, and it's a real slap in the face, and it's insulting to every single victim that's ever been affected by police misconduct or crime. It enrages me.
You would have thought that the death of Sarah Everard would have actually make them, make these changes, that they would have actually thought, you know what, we are accountable here, and there were serious failings, and yet it doesn't, as you're finding out, it doesn't seem like anything is changing at all, does it?
No, nothing changes. And
initially as well, talking about pacifying, so when you started this case back in 2023, initially the newspapers, they were very interested, weren't they? And we do have there was a couple of articles. One was the Daily Mail, which I think, if the studio can pull that up. I mean, I know you went on Good Morning Britain as well, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Britain, did you go on the news as well?
I went on quite a few. Yeah.
So that the Daily Mail have recently covered it again, haven't they?
Yeah, so they all covered it in March 25, and then I went on News Television in June 25, and then Daily Mail picked this up in November. But yeah, I mean, sort of since then, not really much, because everything else, the world is sort of going to crap anyway. But yeah, there were stints of the media picking it up. But to be honest, and I guess
so
it just becomes boring to people, because it's the same old scandals. I think that's why they don't stay in the news long, because it just gets boring.
Yeah, and obviously this headline was obviously, you know, how you felt you left suicidal, you know, having to leave your job and through working for the Met Police and seeing all the failings.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I'm guessing it's had a massive impact on your mental health, trying to get justice for
Yeah,
yourself, for other people now.
definitely. I mean, it had a huge effect on my mental health whilst I was in the police, because I felt like a fraud, you know, like having to answer all these calls and say like we're the police, we really care about violence against women and girls, etc., but then know all of this was going on. And then obviously when I left, it 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 still affects me. I get trolled a lot by police officers that after I look into their accounts, it's them, you know, a Met officer, or I've got officers all up and down the country doing it.
We also actually have a couple of pictures of, well, this is obviously another,
Yeah, that was the original
yeah, when it was
original
first
article.
highlighted. But we also have a couple of pictures of some of the police officers that you've dug into and called out. I mean, tell us about this one.
Well, he's the individual that I complained about, I reported. And yeah, I mean, it just got to a point where I thought, you know, the media's covered it. I never named them. And I thought, no, I'm gonna start naming them. I can't keep half of the truth from people. What's the point of telling people these weird and dodgy people are in the police, but not tell them who they are?
Yeah,
So yeah, I obviously started with naming the one that I reported, Christopher, and then I just thought, you know, because I go through the misconduct outcomes, and I just thought, hang on a minute, like I was starting to read misconduct outcomes where officers had sexually assaulted each other and just been giving warnings and stuff. I thought, no, I'm not having that. I'm gonna like try and find out what they look like, their picture and their name, their full name, and I'm
yeah,
gonna tell people, because if you're gonna keep these people in the police force, people need to know so they can keep themselves safe. So there's other officers and stuff like that that I've named and shamed as well, and I will continue doing it at whatever legal risk, because I don't care.
yeah.
People need to be safe, and the
You
police
think,
are not capable of doing that. So
and this one, sorry, who's this one?
this is Di Gary Castle. He made numerous degrading and discriminative comments towards people from the dwarfism community, and just said really disgusting things. And he was only given a warning for 18 months. I personally, the reason why I highlighted this one, and the reason why, because some people might think these are just words, it's not that bad, blah blah blah. The reason I have been highlighting why my case and other cases like it are so serious, even though they're not full on actions or not exactly, you know, the incident like Wayne Couzens and David Carrick, is
Yeah.
because if behaviors are left unchecked, and if you don't get rid of people like this, it will escalate.
Oh,
It
100%, it gets worse.
and we know that. And also I highlighted this because lovely Mark Rowley, back in 2020, 2023, I believe, or 22, there's 2023, he announced his first phase of a new Met for London, where he promised a zero tolerance of
Yeah.
discrimination. And all of these misconduct cases that I highlight are a complete contradiction of that. You cannot promise zero tolerance to discrimination by your officers and staff if you're gonna literally keep officers and staff that hate women, hate gay people, hate people with dwarfism, hate people with disabilities, like that. It just doesn't make sense. So I mean, that's a whole other story of what I've been doing.
Well, even in just my world, you know, I know of 2 police officers locally, you know, that are currently suspended. They've been suspended for nearly 2 years on full pay due to some kind of sexual assault or abuse of some kind. And I know of many others, and that's just in my world. And I think there's probably many others that could probably name at least one. I previously interviewed a woman that had been abused by a police officer. He was Met Police as well, and they closed ranks, and he just kind of, you know, disappeared. And this is kind of what happens. They are being allowed to resign before it even
Yeah,
comes to any kind of you know, formal
accountability. Yeah.
yeah.
They
And you
can
know,
say they've retired or they've resigned before they're dismissed, you know, and it's It's
and then it
great.
just goes away. Not to mention the fact that many allegations are investigated internally or just by the IOPC, Independent Office for Police Conduct.
Well, they're useless, the IOPC. They're very, very, very useless. And they're not independent at all. A lot are filled with ex police officers or ex College of Policing, all mates in their Mason hand club groups. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
And I've seen at year end March 24, out of 279 staff that were referred to misconduct, 41% were just dismissed or equivalent, and 57% were just given written warnings. And I also saw that is it the Centre for Women's Justice, CWJ, the super complaint covering 2018 found out of 493 reports of domestic abuse, only 19 led to convictions.
Yeah. It's, when I hear all of that, it just infuriates me and just like spurs me on even more. And not enough is being done. And I truly just believe that's because people high up, whether that's in the Home Office, Mopac, police, don't care enough about it. They don't care enough.
And who is this? Sexually assaulted two female police officers, made
Yeah.
sexualized remarks. Who and who is it? So
Yeah.
who is he?
He's a Southeast PC, Christopher Bowdry, only given a final written warning, still serves the public, and sexually assaulted two female PCs, made sexualized remarks about others. Yeah, I put his name out there and his face because we deserve to know. I will, like I keep saying, I'm not going to contribute to another Sarah Everard case.
Is this the one who actually went to Bromley Court?
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe
Did
so.
you say Southeast? That's kind of my area, and I remember you highlighting one that had actually gone to Bromley Court, and that's
No,
my.
this is, yeah.
So
Yeah,
this
no,
is
this is a
another
different,
one.
yeah, this is a
And I
different
remember you saying last time as well that you have started a podcast. Is it that's
Bad Apples. Yeah,
Bad Apples? And you said that you have enough cases of police officers that you could literally just run this show
do it
forever.
forever. Yeah,
Yes.
forever. Yeah, I do it with another police officer from the Met who's still serving. He's a firearms officer, and he's amazing because he calls them out even though he still works there, which is very intimidating. But yeah,
How has he
huh?
managed to, how has he managed to do that? How has he managed to stay
Well,
in force and call them out?
no, he's suspended. He's always constantly given misconducts for it. He's constantly targeted for it. So yeah,
He won't stop.
it's not an easy ride. But that doesn't stop him. A lot of police officers and staff that I talk to say, like we would speak out, but we're scared of like losing our job. And I don't blame them because that is literally a real risk. Like I got threatened as well that I'll lose my job. So I understand that, but he's got a family and he's got a mortgage that he needs to pay, but he still knows right from right and still
Yeah.
risks that to say the truth. So yeah, I mean, we have that podcast. We've had a bit of a break, but yeah, there's endless cases. But
Do you think a
yeah,
lot of them they just keep quiet and they just support each
yeah, they do. It's a 50-50. They're either keeping quiet because they're scared of losing their job, but they do know deep down that it's wrong, or yeah, they're just one of the complicit weird ones that engage in it as well. And but I've said it and it's triggered a lot of people, but both is not good enough. We all have bills and we all have lives that we don't want to disrupt and whatever, but everyone might need the police at one point. And if you know if you know that there are bad things going on in the police, like you literally have a duty to say it because you might need the police one day too. And do you want to be served by a sexual
Yeah.
offender? I don't. But
And
yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
and this is obviously Isabel's law that we were talking about earlier.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
still have your petition going as well?
I
Because
do
you
have a yeah, I do have. Oh, was that for the inquiry? I
yeah,
have
you
one for an
started a
inquiry.
petition, didn't you, for a statutory public inquiry into Issy Met Police whistleblower case. Is this
Yeah,
still going?
I still have it, but I've just given up even promoting it anymore because the more I've looked into inquiries and reviews the last sort of 6 months, like I've said, they're just pointless, and I wouldn't want to waste more money, and I wouldn't want to. It's just it wouldn't even if we had an inquiry. you still have to go to the Met for them to disclose things, which they wouldn't, and it's still going to be a headache. Nothing will change. So I've just sort of given up with it.
What do you think of Sadiq Khan, as he obviously is in charge of the Met Police? What do you think?
I don't like him. I don't know why why he's still the mayor.
No,
I don't understand what is going on there.
people say to me all the time, "Well, you voted for him," and I say I didn't vote for him. Nobody
Yeah.
I know's voted for him, and nobody
Who is?
I know knows anybody that voted for him who did vote for him. And I believe, has he not just said that he's thinking about running again? Is it in 2020?
Oh,
I think I
please.
saw something just cross my screen
It's
the other day, and I thought, I'm not even reading it.
it's like it's actually ridiculous. And I don't know if have you seen his deputy Kaya
Oh,
Koma Schwartz. Oh my God, it's painful watching her. But no, I'm not a fan, and I'm not a fan of Mopac. A lot of times I've actually tried to raise a complaint about Mark Rowley, the fact that he lied in his New Met for London. And they've said, well, you're going to have to, because you work there, you're going to have to complain to your professional standards. And I said, I'm going to go back to the Met and complain to his own misconduct department that sits under him. Like, that does not make sense. So I'm not a fan of Mopac either. I think they're idiots.
yeah.
The whole thing is a joke. I'm not a fan of Steve Khan. Just scrap the whole thing. Get rid of
It does.
the
The whole
mayor.
system. I think the bottom line is the whole system needs actually completely taken down. It really
Yeah, it
does.
does.
Because
It
it
really
is actually
does.
corrupt to the core. And as I said,
Yeah.
you were talking about obviously your colleague who's still within the police, those who
Mhm.
they're either complicit or they stay quiet, or there's people like you who obviously either leave your job because it's too
Yeah.
much, you continue to speak out, but it doesn't come without a cost, does it?
No, it's a big cost, But I always say it's a big cost, but my heart is like I can sleep at night. Well, I can't sleep well, but I can sleep more than I would have if I just
So
like shut up and kept on.
I'm going to ask you a stupid question because we have come to the end, nearly, because you do have to rush off for another
Yeah.
meeting. But I just want to say, what is it that is still driving you to make this sacrifice? Because you're fighting a big evil, the police, like
I
with
think,
this.
yeah. I think what drives me is Sarah Everard. And, I don't even just want to say Sarah Everard, but the reason why she really, that hit me so much was that I was working at the Met at the time. And the fact that that could have happened whilst I was working there. And then we thought we were doing everything we could to prevent that. And then I saw they weren't. I'm haunted by what happened to her. And also I'm haunted to the multiple cases before her, especially of people of colour who don't get as much publicity and coverage about it. So I do it for everyone who has been a victim of police misconduct or crime. And I do it for everyone that has been failed, even as a member of public, because there is nothing more insidious than being failed by the service that's supposed to protect you. And I keep on because I'm a person in this world as well that has to, well, I won't, but I might need the police one day, and well, I will never use the police for myself anymore. But I want to make sure the society that I live in is safe and we've got nice people looking after us. And what's the point? I don't know. I suppose that drives me. But really, really, if I'm being honest, Sarah does. Sarah really does, and all the victims, other victims, Nicole and Bibba, Stephen Lawrence, multiple victims. They drive me. And also for future women and girls, for future boys,
Yeah.
for future men, for future society. I want the world to be better. Because this is a universal issue as well. It's not just the UK. Police forces all around the world. They are untouchable, and that shouldn't be the case.
Well, thank you, Issy. I am going to stop you there because I know you do have to go dead on 9 o'clock, and I'm aware of the time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And you definitely are going to have to come on again because it's gone too quick. Because
I'll update you.
Yeah, and what you're fighting, at such a young age, and what you've gone through. I know you quite often feel alone, and honestly, I don't really want you to feel alone. And I know there's not much I can do to help you, and I do keep watching what you're up to.
Keep watching my crying videos. Yeah.
Yeah, crying videos. I do feel very strongly for you because you have taken on a mammoth task, and I don't think you get enough support. But I will let you go, you know.
No, and thank you for having me on, honestly. Always a pleasure. And I'll update you when more crap happens.
Which it will, no doubt.
It will. It will.
So
It
thank
will.
you. Thank you,
Thank
Issy.
you so much. Thank you.
It really does take an extraordinary amount of courage to not only speak out once, but to keep going like Issy is, and to keep challenging and to keep standing firm when the pressure would make actually most people just step back or walk away. And what Issy has described today isn't just a personal battle, it's a fight for accountability, for transparency, and for the kind of policing the public believes it already has. Issy's decision to devote her life to challenging the system, particularly the Metropolitan Police, isn't rooted in bitterness. It's rooted in belief that institutions should serve the public, not protect themselves, belief that integrity should never be punished, and belief that truth, no matter how uncomfortable, matters. She couldn't have put it better than how she just did. So whatever people's views may be, these conversations are necessary, because without scrutiny, there is no reform. And without voices like Issy's, there's no pressure for change. Here on Dire Consequences, we will continue to, and I will definitely always continue to follow Issy's case and continue to ask difficult questions and continue to provide a space where experiences like hers can be heard, uncensored and unfiltered. And I really do thank Issy for her bravery. She's going up against a hell of a beast. And I thank her for coming back and speaking with me, and I definitely will have her on again. And to everyone watching, if you value independent conversations like this, please follow, like and subscribe. It genuinely really does help us to grow this platform and continue bringing you the news and information others may not cover. This conversation doesn't end here. So I'm Claire Dyer. This is Dire Consequences on Unprecedented TV, and thank you for watching.